fifth and final part of making my third ever wedding cake. Today is Saturday. The cake needs to be delivered by 1 p.m. I need to stack the tiers and add a few decorations. I want to fully decorate the cake at home so that the delivery is nice and easy. I just want to get there, drop the cake, take a few pictures and then run away. So I covered both of the cakes yesterday, but I didn't add any dowels. And the reason I do that is because sometimes the cake can settle overnight. So there's been times before where I've doweled the cake in the evening and all the dowels are the perfect height, they're nice and level with the fondant. And then I've come back the next day and some of the dowels are sticking up above the cake. So I used to think, oh, maybe I didn't do it right last night, but it's because the sponges can settle and shrink down a little bit overnight, especially if they've not been in the fridge. If some of the dowels are sticking up too much, when you go to add the cake on top, there'll be quite a big gap in between the tiers. 1 to 2 millimeters isn't an issue because you can seal that up with some royal icing or buttercream like I'm about to do. But if the space is any bigger than that, then it can be quite difficult to cover up. So yeah, I just find it easier to dowel and stack on the day of delivery. Anyway, I did say in my last video I would explain why there's so many air bubbles in this cake. It's because I had an absolute nightmare with the ganache. It just kept setting really quick. The crumb coat and final layer was just very lumpy and patchy, and that really shows when you add the fondant. It also doesn't help that I used quite a thin layer of fondant, so it really did show through. I did not have the time or energy to start the whole cake again, so I just had to roll with it and hope that the couple still loved the cake. Luckily they did. I packed a few things to travel with just in case we have any disasters on the way. But the only disaster I had was this cake on board sign, which I have been excited to use for the first time. However, I didn't think it through because I have tinted glass in my rear window. So I had to opt for plan B, which was to stick it in the side window, which is completely useless because no vehicles behind can see that. What an absolute waste of £12.50. So anyway, I drove to the venue, which was up the steepest hill imaginable with around 1,500 speed bumps. But we got there in one piece somehow, and this is it all set up. Third ever wedding cake done and dusted.